tell me a little bit about your creation process. How do you go from do you sit down with the guitar and start kind of plugging out a melody, or do you sit down and kind of start working with your drum machines, or do you maybe find something on a keyboard? How do you write a song?
It very rarely in the last 5 years has it started with a guitar. Sometimes I may take an older song that was a guitar rock song and try to recreate it, but generally the drum machines and the synthesizers become the core of the track.
Mm-hmm.
Like the final Mach FoX songs, if you heard them before the guitar and the electric bass are put on them, a lot of them are pretty heavy EBM. That's how they start out.
Right.
And I'll eventually, always in mind when I program the synthesizer, I'm thinking, well, the main bass is going to be the electric bass. And when I'm playing it too, the bass I have, the low E string is broken, so it forces me to play in a different octave.
Right.
And right there, I love that, just because I won't ride the low E through a whole verse or something. I'll have to move an octave, and I kind of feel it's more in the Peter Hook vein.
Right.
Bass
Yeah.
playing, which is something I love. So I always program the bass synth, but I always know it's eventually going to be the real synth.
Uh-huh.
And they kind of swap out. And the guitar comes later, and something I tried to stay away from was a bunch of bar chords. And a lot of the early bands I was in, it was pop punk music and
right.
Just a bunch of bar chords, really.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, with the Mach FoX, I'd really like to create melody lines, and sometimes I'll even do some editing that would make the phrase really not something I would play normally on guitar.
Right.
So the digital editing and the fact that they start out as more of an EBM type song really kind of is how I work. And then the arrangement will even come after that. I'll usually sequence in 5 minutes of a track, 5 or 6 minutes,
mm-hmm.
and then sort of sculpt out, where I hear the parts.
Right.
It's really an as-you-go thing, which I know seems counterintuitive to a lot of musicians. I've done it both ways, but I really feel like in the experimentation and the digital editing and the software I use, it's the best way to work.
Right.
I want to add all the effects later. I don't want to, I don't mind effects on the guitar, but the production kind of gets deeper later.
Right. I totally understand. That's exactly how I do it too. I record everything as dry as possible and then go back through and start layering your effects.
Yep.
Yep. I got
you. And I have no problem printing the effect right to the wave file in the track. You always have a backup at some point. Maybe you can go back to, but
right.
By that point, I've gotten so deep into where the production is going that if I went back, it would just be like starting over. So I would never go back.
I got you.
And there's a lot of weird things. I'll hear pops and glitches and all kinds of stuff in the digital recording I'm doing, but keeping it raw and still having the electropunk attitude, I feel like, I listen to music differently, maybe.
Right.
I come from the punk world too, but
yeah.
I just love, I'm not hung up on all the little things so much, I guess. And some of the productions, I'll admit, they're real messes. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
You'll never hear just a simplified track by Mach FoX, probably.
That's where you and I share a lot of similarities musically, is we like to both add in layers, and we like to keep the chaos that's there.
Well, yeah, and people like Brian Eno, and, I always, again, back to Todd Rundgren, he was just a record producer cat, and that always intrigued me, like reading, I'm more interested in reading a biography about a record producer than a band, probably.
Right.
I like band bios too; they're great. Anything about music, I'll read. But I'm more interested in the thoughts and the producer's take on things, like how he sees things,
right?
Why he did certain things,
Uh-huh. So from an independent record standpoint, from an independent artist, where do you think the music business is going to go? How do you think that things need to change, or the things are going to change to get music in people's hands?
you know, and I've heard this argument too, but really, I don't think it's about the flow and the distribution of the music, but it is about having the channels. So maybe that is the distribution and the flow. There's just so much out there, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone's available for download or even free. Like I offer the stuff for free.
Right.
And that goes back to the punk roots too, though. I just kind of feel like, you know, hey, here you go, enjoy it.
Right.
You know, use it or throw it away. It doesn't matter to me. But yeah, the whole record label thing, I think, is still going to stick around. I think if vinyl's coming back, that's promising, and
right.
I think, you know, just the bands will continue to tour and be out there and be seen and create, you know, a new fan base.
Right. I have an interesting quote. Eric Powell from 16 Volt, he and I were talking about the model and how things need to change, and he put his entire back catalog, everything pre-Metropolis, out there for free, and he said, you know, he just put a link, said it's all yours, you know, go ahead and donate money if you want, and he made more money on donations than he's ever made being signed to a label.
Well, that's great. You know, and what that comes down to is a band out there working on the road, respect from an audience.
Right.
You know, that I don't know, you know, their touring ratio to time off the road, but I know they've come through Minneapolis several times. So you build up that core audience. You know, maybe it's only 1/1,000,000th of the market share out there, but they're the ones who will know and blog and promote your next release that is on a signed label or for free too.
Right. Yeah.
That's how I feel about music too. It's not about the monetary value of it. It's really the value to the listener.
Mm-hmm.
If it means something to them.
Right.
Because, you know, I'm sure I'm guessing since we like some of the same music, you may be cynical like I am about some media and, you know,
yeah.
just the way things are marketed and the money behind marketing is insane. So,
yes.
You know, they can pick whatever they want and make it what's going to show up on commercial television, but there's a lot better music out there and people know how to get it now.
Yes.
You know? Even if they don't go to live shows, they know how to search for an artist and which websites are good. You know, that's another thing. There's been amazing resources for free available to artists now.
Right, like Last FM.
Yep, or SoundCloud is one of my favorites.
Yeah, and which you turned me on to and I've started using now, and it's a great way to just be able to put a song on a link and put it somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there's no fancy hoops, you don't have a lot of crap. I mean, it's a simple embedded code, and there's your song available for someone to listen to right on the internet.
Well, and it's a trusted site. You know, there are many sites that do just that,
mm-hmm.
and will host your music and have an embedded player you can post. But when you've got a reputable one like that, plus the database of however many users they have and how many, you know, professional users use it, that really helps. So,
right.
You know, because in the early days of Mach FoX too, we were on an Italian record label, and they were selling stuff through the UK-based digital stores, and it was hard for me to get people to go there, deal with the credit card stuff, or, you know, find the American link. You know what I mean? It was just hard to get people to do that. If I'm sending someone to iTunes, you know, the majority of people already have the application to play the music. They already use it, you know.
Yep.
And I feel that way about SoundCloud, at least in the musician world and the blogger world and the label world. It's pretty well, you know, it's trusted.
Right, gotcha. Is there anything today that I haven't asked you about that you think is important for people to understand about perhaps you as a musician, you as an artist, Mach FoX? Is there something that you'd like people to know that I haven't asked you about?
I come from a dark, dark place far away. That's all you need to know. I mean, and taken in context with the music and the artwork that's chosen for the albums, I mean, I guess I'm personally involved in the music pretty heavily, and it means something to me.
Right.
If you can take something from it, that's great. But
well, thank you for your time, Mark. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And of Cool, man. I appreciate it, and I hope that next time I'm up in the cities, we can hook up and have a brew together.
We will.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
Okay, see you, Gabe.
Bye.
Bye.